Some people like to be safe. Other people, they just love that explosion. And if we're being completely honest with each other, the explosions are so much more satisfying. We all look down at our fantasy football team on game day and see somebody put up a huge number like 20 plus points. Yeah, that's the explosion I was talking. What were you guys thinking? Because in today's show, we're trying to identify the running backs who are the most explosive in fantasy football. What is going on, Headliner Nation? Hopefully everyone is doing well out there today, where yes, we're going to try to find the most explosive running backs in fantasy football here for 2025. Now, when we label a player as being explosive, that means they may not be the safest option for your team. But they have shown in the past with their play, they have that game-breaking ability. Now, in my video last Thursday, I put out a like goal. I said if that video could get over 500 likes, I would give away a free 2025 fantasy football draft guide. You guys killed it. Already has over 700 likes, so now is the time to give away that free draft guide. So congrats to Very Benny 2336, you were randomly selected from the comment section of that video to receive a free draft guide. All you got to do, hit me up at info@thefantasyheadliners.com and I will get you hooked up. But you know what? It's hot outside. Summer is here. I'm feeling generous. Let's do it again. Let's see if you guys can beat the like goal once again. So if this video can get over 700 likes, I will pick another random commenter from down below and give them a free 2025 fantasy football draft guide as well. So you know what to do. Hit the like button, leave a comment down below at some point during this video, and let's go ahead and dive into trying to find the most explosive running backs here for 2025. Now, first off, what does it mean to be explosive? Explosive running backs are the ones that do things like break off the big runs, evade tackles, and create their own yardage. But there are a few other metrics as well we need to pay attention to. Now, a lot of doubters out there are going to say, Jake, how do you even know this works? Well, it's really a pretty easy answer to explain. We already have some of the answers to the test. We know guys like Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs are some of the most explosive guys in the NFL. So if we can identify metrics that those guys excel at, and then all we need to do is see who else excels in similar metrics. It's like magic. Both Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson finished in the top 5 of this exercise today. The juicy part is who finished alongside them, so buckle up, it's going to be interesting. Now, obviously, just because they did it last year doesn't mean they're going to do it for sure again this year. Things change. Players change teams. They may even be coming off of major injuries. So we will do this entire exercise and then go through each player and see if they can do it again in 2025. So let's dive the F in. Are you locked in out there? Because here we go. Now for this exercise, I have taken 44 of the top fantasy running backs out there. I'm going to compare them head to head against each other and then rank them accordingly in multiple metrics. Now, I always try to use metrics on a per touch basis. I don't want the guys dominating these shows just because of volume. We're trying to find those underlying names too. Now, the metrics we're going to be looking at today are these ones. It's touches per evaded tackle. How frequently do they make a defender miss? Because if they're making defenders miss, the likelihood is higher of them having those potential big plays. How about breakaway run rate? Now, maybe you've never heard of that. That's the percentage of carries that have led to a run of 15 or more yards. Then we have yards created per touch. How many yards do they create per touch? We don't want those guys who just run into the back of their offensive lineman and fall over, which leads us to the last two metrics. The first one, average defenders in the box. Less defenders in the box, less defenders they need to have blocked or make miss once they have the football. And then lastly, stuffed run percentage. We want the guys that are so explosive that they aren't getting stuffed behind the line of scrimmage. So let's go ahead and start off with touches per evaded tackle. And here were the top 25 finishers in this metric. I tried to get all 44 on the screen. The font was so small you'd never be able to read it. So here's the top 25. So right here at the top, we got James Conner. And right off the bat, that's a surprise to me. I didn't expect to see James Conner having this low of a touches per evaded tackle. This means for every 3 times that James Conner is touching the football, he's evading a tackle. That number is huge. And it's pretty far ahead of the guy who finished second, Bucky Irving. Sure, he's still at 3.39, which is great. David Montgomery at 3.45. Kenneth Walker at 3.49. If we're anywhere near the 3s or 4s, we're loving it. And that's why pretty much the top 25 guys all are having under 5 touches per evaded tackle. So we'll run down the list here real quick. We got Tank Bigsby, somewhat of a surprise. How about, oh no, here we go. It's the offseason. I got to give you a great Zach Charbonnet. Of the Seattle Seahawks. Then we got Jahmyr Gibbs, Jalen Wright, the backup running back in Miami. Josh Jacobs coming off a huge year. How about Jordan Mason? Now he's in Minnesota behind Aaron Jones. We'll talk about him later, I'm sure. Then we got Ray Davis, Tajay Spears, Bijan Robinson, Chase Brown, Isaac Guerendo. How much work does he get? Can Christian McCaffrey stay healthy all year? We got Najee Harris, Ramondre Stevens season. Hasn't been a Stevens season in quite some time. I think we're starting to close the door on Ramondre Stevenson, but that's for another show, another time. How about Blake Corum, followed by Jalen Warren, Joe Mixon? He could be splitting backfield work here in 2025. Then we got Derrick Henry, really not known for making defenders miss. He's more known for running over defenders, but still under that 5-touch number. Then we have Tyler Algier, Tyrone Tracy, Breece Hall, and Devon Achane. Okay, how about we go on to breakaway run rate, though? And remember, this is the percentage of carries that resulted in 15 or more yards. And here is the top 25 in this metric. Right off the bat, holy hell, Jahmyr Gibbs, 10% of his carries resulted in 15 or more yards. The second place finisher was Jordan Mason, and he was at 7.8. That's 2.2%, right? Quick math. 2.2% difference. Jahmyr Gibbs is on another level when it comes to breaking the big play. It's why he's productive in fantasy football. It's why he's a first-round pick. But then, like I said, we got Jordan Mason, then Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. Not much of a surprise right here at the top of this metric whatsoever. Then we got Isaac Guerendo. James Conner again? James Conner at 6.8% of his carries resulting in 15 or more yards. Not what you would think of when you think of James Conner. Then we got Bucky Irving, Tyler Algier, Chuba Hubbard, Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Wright, Breece Hall, B-Rob, Brian Robinson Jr., followed by Tyrone Tracy, Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard, Devon Achane, Tank Bigsby again. There's James Cook here for the first time in the show. Then we got Joe Mixon, Chase Brown, Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, and Christian McCaffrey. Remember, McCaffrey didn't play a full year last year, wasn't 100%, definitely impacted his numbers. But I think by this point, we all know if McCaffrey is 100% healthy, he's arguably the best running back in fantasy. Now, obviously, when I look at this metric, I'm trying to find the guys that are 5% or higher. Does that mean it's a huge difference for the guys that are 4.9, 4.8? No, not really. But I think if anything, this metric right here shows us how great Jahmyr Gibbs is at busting the big one. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to the next metric now and look at yards created per touch. How much are these guys creating on their own? At the top of the list, did anyone expect to see Austin Eckler? No, probably not. It's not 2020 anymore. But Austin Eckler last year created 5 yards per touch. The problem there is he's just not getting enough touches to be that fantasy viable. In a backfield with Brian Robinson Jr., who we've already seen multiple times in multiple metrics, it's just really hard for him to get that big time volume, but that does tell me if he gets touches, he's going to produce. Followed by back-to-back running backs in Tampa Bay. Both Bucky Irving and Rachaad White made things happen with the ball in their hands last year. Then we have, in fourth place here, dear Lord, once again, it's James Conner. Are you starting to see a trend here? He's at 4.27 yards created per touch. That's great. Anything over 4, I basically consider elite. Now, after James Conner, we got Devon Achane. No surprise there. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jalen Warren, Zach Charbonnet again. Tajay Spears. Boy, I wish that guy could stay on the field a little bit. Then we got David Montgomery and Kenneth Walker. Those are the running backs who are averaging over 4 yards created per touch. But it's not that big of a difference. We got guys like Breece Hall at 3.99, Josh Jacobs at 3.82, Bijan at 3.81. Then we get down to Javonte Williams at 3.68, Ray Davis. Then we got Alvin Kamara, followed by Derrick Henry, Tyrone Tracy, Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne, Joe Mixon, Jordan Mason, Rico Dowdle, and Braylon Allen, the backup in New York for the Jets. To me, there's not a lot of surprise right here. Maybe I expected a little bit more from Derrick Henry because he's creating yardage by running through those defenders, but still, overall, not a lot of surprises in this metrics, maybe aside from James Conner again. Now, be honest with me, if sitting here going through all these numbers is starting to get the juices flowing for the 2025 season, do not forget to get yourself a draft guide right now. They're already available. TFHDraftGuide.com. There's already content up on the draft guide. It's web-based, which is great because that means all the way up until week 1 of the NFL season, we can add content and update content. So no matter when you log in, you have the most updated information. It's everything from sleepers, breakouts, busts, rankings, injury analysis, player profiles, the perfect draft, and so much more. So head over to TFHDraftGuide.com and get yours right now. There's links down below in the description. All right, let's move on to the next metric. And that next metric we're diving into is average defenders in the box. And remember, we don't want stacked boxes. If running backs are running against 8 guys in the box, the chances of them breaking free are just going to be a little bit lower. We want the running backs to have the opportunity at the big play. You get that opportunity more by not facing stacked boxes. So when we pull up the top 25 here, right off the bat, Javonte Williams is at 5.8. Now, part of me thinks that a lot of defenses didn't respect Javonte Williams in Denver last year, and they were forcing Bo Nix to beat them. Then Bo Nix went out and beat them, but now Javonte's in Dallas. How do things change a little bit? Probably not a whole lot, right? Teams are going to want Dallas to run the football because their passing game with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb is going to be that much better. Now, after him, we got Isaiah Pacheco at 5.9. A lot of teams, they know that Patrick Mahomes is throwing the football. How about Braylon Allen at 6 defenders in the box when he was on the field, followed by Brian Robinson. Breece Hall right here at 6'1". They were forcing the Jets last year to run the football because they weren't finding much success on the ground due to their offensive line. But then we have Derrick Henry, and that one is surprising. You think about Derrick Henry, and you think that, man, we need to put defenders inside the box, but Lamar Jackson played so well last year in the passing game. Opposing defenses could not afford to stack the box. Lamar Jackson would have torched them. Then we got guys like Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker back-to-back at 6.2. Then Tajay Spears, Rico Dowdle, Blake Corum, Austin Eckler, some RB handcuffs right here in the middle, followed by Bucky Irving, and once again, James and Conner is showing up in the top 25 of a metric. Then we got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, both at 6'4". We know that's a high-powered passing offense in Detroit. Then we got Bijan Robinson, Tyrone Tracy, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Tyler Algier, Christian McCaffrey, Jalen Wright, Rashad White, and Josh Jacobs, all sitting right here, right around 6.4 to 6.5 defenders in the box on average. But now we only have one metric left. That last metric is stuffed run percentage. We do not want guys that run into the back of their offensive linemen and fall down. So when we pull up the top 25 in this metric, this is what we have. And right here at the top, Rico Dowdle. The dude was fighting for yardage. Only 12.3% of the time was he stuffed behind the line, the top finisher in this metric, followed by Bijan Robinson at 13.5%, then Derrick Henry, Bucky Irving, some names we would expect to be right here at the top, some hard runners that are going to at least fall forward. Then we got Braylon Allen, Isaiah Pacheco, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, Kyron Williams, Chuba Hubbard, Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs, all those guys floating right around the high 14s to 15%. Then we get Jahmyr Gibbs at 15.6. Somewhat surprising for the explosiveness of Jahmyr Gibbs, but still not a bad number. 15% of the time, we'll still take it. Followed by Tyrone Tracy, James Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Kareem Hunt, and Ramondre Stevenson. And then here to round out the top 25, we got guys like Tank Bigsby at 16.7%, followed by Tyler Algier, Austin Eckler. How about Saquon at 17.1%? We haven't seen Saquon finish too high in some of these metrics, but this is where we kind of said at the beginning of the show, it may not be as safe. And with the volume that Saquon sees, he's maybe considered a little bit safer than the explosive side of things just for this exercise. Then we got Jalen Warren, though, to round this out with Travis Etienne and Tony Pollard. Now, we have gone through all of these guys and put them up against each other in each one of these metrics, and we've ranked them in each one, 1 to 44 in all metrics. We then put them all together, add up their scores, and find out who finished highest in all these combined statistics. Now, when we do that, it spits out our top overall finisher. finishers, and here is a look at our top 20 overall finishers from today's exercise. It's Bucky Irving, kind of expected after his year last year. Jahmyr Gibbs, definitely expected. And then in third place, it's our boy, James Conner. Then we have Derrick Henry and Bijan Robinson, more guys that we would expect to finish highly here. We follow it up with David Montgomery, Tyrone Tracy, and then we got Austin Eckler, Tank Bigsby, Jordan Mason, Kenneth Walker, Josh Jacobs, Rico Dowdle, Breece Hall, Zach Charbonnet, Tyler Algier, Chuba Hubbard, Chase Brown, Tajay Spears, and Jaylen Warren. Now, some of these names are expected, right? You don't need me to sit here on a video and tell you that Jahmyr Gibbs is good in fantasy football. He's drafted early for a reason. So let's go ahead and throw everyone's ADP up here for a second and see where they're landing. Now, Bucky Irving, he's in the second round, Jahmyr Gibbs in the first, James Conner in the fifth, Henry in the first, Bijan in the first, Demont in the fifth. Then we got Tracy in the eighth, followed by a couple double-digit round guys. We got Eckler in the 12th, Bigsby in the 11th, Mason in the 11th, followed by Kenneth Walker in the 4th, Josh Jacobs in the 2nd, Rico Dowdle right now is 11th round. Then we got Breece Hall in the 3rd, Charbonnet in the 9th, Algier in the 12th, Hubbard in the 4th, Chase Brown in the 3rd, Tajay Spears in the 11th, and Jaylen Warren in the 8th round. So because we aren't helping a lot of people by telling you to pick guys inside the top 24, let's go ahead and remove the names that have a ADP inside the first 2 rounds. And this is what it leaves us. Now, another thing I see from this list right off the bat is there's a lot of handcuffs on this list. Guys like Austin Eckler, Tank Bigsby, Jordan Mason, Rico Dowdle, Zach Charbonnet, Tyler Algier, and Tajay Spears. Now for Austin Eckler, we know he's going to be splitting touches in that Washington backfield with Brian Robinson, and he's a name that we saw pop up at times in today's exercise. Then we got Tank Bigsby. I expect a lot more personally from Travis Etienne this year, but it was definitely a surprise to see Bigsby up here on the explosive side. Not so surprising to see Jordan Mason, but remember now he's in Minnesota, and Aaron Jones is coming off a season with like 1,500 total yards. It's not like he's totally washed yet. Then we got Rico Dowdle, but now he's behind Chuba in Carolina and not the starter in Dallas. That could change things a little bit. How about Zach Charbonnet? He may get the chance if and when Kenneth Walker gets hurt every single year. But after him is Tyler Algier. We know he's going to be getting the scraps behind Bijan Robinson and then Tajay Spears. He can't seem to stay healthy, but he produces when he gets the chance. If for some reason he stays healthy in Tennessee this year, he'll have an opportunity to put up some decent numbers. Now, this does tell me that if you have any of these starters, though, ahead of these handcuffs we just discussed, you need to be sure to own these handcuffs because they provide the explosiveness that a lot of their starters do as well. Now, in the future, I'll make another video about handcuffs. We'll talk about them later. For this show, I really want to focus on the guys that are going to have immediate chances to explode in your fantasy football lineups, not ones that really need an injury to happen in order to get an opportunity. Now, if we do that, it only leaves these guys: James Conner, David Montgomery, Tyrone Tracy, Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, Chuba Hubbard, Chase Brown, and Jaylen Warren. Now for James Conner, the most underrated running back in fantasy football year after year after year. He finished top 6 in 3 of the metrics we looked at here today. In my opinion, he is worth the price in 2025. He may be somewhat of a discount. Can he do it again in 2025? I believe he can. Then we got David Montgomery. Now he doesn't break many big runs, but he excels everywhere else. And we know the offense provides scoring opportunities in Detroit. Can he do it again this year? Yes, absolutely he can. How about Tyrone Tracy? Now I do think that Scat earns a role in this backfield at some point this season, but Tyrone Tracy should be the man to start the year in this offense, which is going to be much better behind better quarterback play, could provide more scoring opportunities. Don't forget about Tyrone Tracy a little bit later. His ADP is all the way in the 8th round, so he definitely may be worth the gamble in 2025 with an opportunity to do it again. Then we got Kenneth Walker, with DK Metcalf gone, with Tyler Lockett gone, with Geno Smith gone, and now an offensive coordinator in Clint Kubiak. They're going to want to run the ball pretty heavily to take some pressure off of Sam Darnold. Kenneth Walker, if he can stay healthy, yes, that's a big if, he can definitely have a huge fantasy year. I think he can do it again. How about Breece Hall? Breece isn't the issue in my opinion. The Jets just constantly disappoint. My biggest concern here is he's going to be splitting touches with Braylon Allen, and now that Justin Fields is under center, does he take away some of those goal line touchdown opportunities himself? Then we move on to Chuba Hubbard. Carolina seemed super committed to him last year and even extended his contract late in the season. But then they brought in Rico Dowdle, who finished super high in today's exercise as well. And then they went out and drafted Trevor Etienne. Not saying Chuba Hubbard is in danger, but if I own Chuba, I'm also trying to get Rico if possible. Then we got Chase Brown. This one shouldn't be a surprise. Dude was explosive AF last year. Zach Moss and Samaje Perine both suck. With this offense, it will once again be Chase Brown's backfield, but don't kid yourself. This offensive line is somewhat underwhelming. I really put his chances at exploding again right around 50-50. How about Jaylen Warren to round it out? Now, Najee is gone, but then they drafted Caleb Johnson and brought in Kenneth Gainwell. For me, the ultimate red flag still remains Arthur Smith at offensive coordinator. Can Jaylen Warren do it again? I have my concerns this year with the overall offense in Pittsburgh. Now, there are two names that a lot of people are going to wonder where they are, though. That's James Cook and Devon Achane, two names that you would really expect to see more frequently in a video like this. Now, overall, James Cook finished 24th today and Devon Achane 23rd, so not too far outside the top 20. It was the stuffed runs and lack of big plays with no Tua under center that really did it in for Devon Achane in 2024. For Cook, he just didn't evade many tackles, but he really didn't have to create much on his own because he always had monster lanes to run through. That hurt him in this show, but I'm not worried about him in 2025. The biggest concern was his touchdowns last year, right? He had so many touchdowns. Can he reproduce that type of year? That's going to be super hard. Luckily, in that offense, even if he does regress slightly in the touchdown category, still going to have a huge year. Now, when it comes to Devon Achane, though, we all know he is tied to the health of Tua Tagovailoa, which is very hard to figure out from year to year. The guy is always a risk for a concussion where he could miss some serious time. But we can say this, if Tua plays, Devon Achane will absolutely kill it again. All right, so there you have it. Who were some of the names that stood out in today's show to you personally? I need to start putting more attention on James Conner. I think he's super slept on almost every single year in fantasy football, it seems like, and then he goes out, he has a large role in the offense. Yes, there is some young guys that could challenge for some touches, but James Conner, as of right now, is a mainstay in that boring Arizona offense, but still the touches, the volume, the explosiveness. He's probably somebody I wouldn't mind having on my roster, hopefully as my RB3. Maybe my RB2 if I went heavy wide receiver early in the draft, but that's just another name to pay attention to. I want to know what you think, though. Put a name down below in the comment section. Who are you really paying attention to this offseason? Remember, it's still a little bit early. We have to pay attention to what happens over the next couple of months and then make adjustments before our fantasy football drafts. Now, if you want help all along the way, all you got to do is hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Plus, earlier in the show, I made the like goal. We got to hit our like goal so I can give away another draft guide. But for now, I'm going to get out of here for the day. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the rest of your day, though. And then most importantly, do your part to make the world a better place.